Hello and welcome to another Standard Games video on the official MTG Arena channel. Unfortunately, this will be my final regular upload on this channel, so I'm not going to be back next Saturday, but I still have a spicy deck lined up for today. We've got an Esper Midrange deck that tries to combo Invasion of Amonket with the Black God, Aclazotz Deepest Betrayal. This 5-mana 4/4 flying lifelink. When it attacks, each opponent discards a card, and then for each opponent who cannot, we get to draw. Whenever an opponent discards a land card, we also get to make a 1/1 flying bat token, and it's the last line of text that will synergize with our Invasion of Amonket. When Aclazotz dies, return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control. So normally it would transform into Temple of the Dead, a land that can transform back into our god if we pay 3 mana tap it, as long as the opponent has 1 or fewer cards in hand. But we can potentially skip that step if we selected Aclazotz as the creature we copy with lasso tap convert. So we need to start by playing Invasion of Amonket, a 3-mana battle with 4 defense counters. When it enters, each player mills 3 cards, and then each opponent discards while we get to draw a card. So a nice 2-for-1. And then if we manage to transform it, we get lasso tap convert. A 4/4 enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature card in a graveyard, except it's a 4/4 black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. So we still have a 4/4 flying lifelinking Aclazotz, and then if the opponent tries to take it out, what happens is it dies. It checks the ability return to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control, but instead of being an Aclazotz, of course, we're dealing with an Invasion of Amonket, which will follow the instructions, so it will enter the battlefield tapped and transformed. So instead of getting Invasion of Amonket, we once again get a lasso tap convert, which can simply select Aclazotz out of our graveyard once again. So the opponent won't be able to get rid of it, it will simply return tapped, and that can be a very powerful combo against decks that cannot exile our creatures or deal with them some other way. So that's the main combo we're trying to achieve, and to make sure we can easily transform our battle, we want to load up our deck with a bunch of flying creatures that can easily fly over opposing blockers and deal 4 damage to it to get our lasso tap convert. So I've kind of slotted this combo into an Esper Legends deck, although the Legends are pretty limited. We still have a Denic plus Rafine, which is a pretty powerful combo, especially against aggro, as we get to connive and grow our lifelinker. And then Rafine can also be a way of discarding Aclazotz if we have it stuck in hand, so we make sure it's in the graveyard when we're about to transform our Invasion of Amonket. And then we've got a few more flyers here with a Deep Cavern Bat, which also gives us a bit of hand disruption. We've got 2 copies of Malcolm, which can also draw and discard when it hits the opponent, so another discard outlet for Aclazotz, while also smoothing out our draws. We've got the Spyglass Siren as a 1/1 flyer, also makes a map token, so that can help us explore, hit our land drops, grow some specific creatures to maybe help transform the battle, and that can also randomly put a creature in the graveyard, such as our god. And then we've got, of course, Rafine, and then 2 copies of the Larcenist as well, which counts as removal and can also help transform the battle. And then we've got a couple vehicles with a Schooner, can easily crew it with our 1/1 Spyglass Siren and help us play defense on the ground while maybe getting a few attacks in and exploring as well. So that can also generate a lot of value. And then since we're drawing so many cards with Invasion, Rafine, it also makes sense to include a few copies of Shieldred, which is never going to be a bad inclusion. And then we've got a few removal spells to round out the deck with Cut Down and 3 copies of Go for the Throat. And then our mana base has, of course, lots of dual lands for mana fixing, including Rafine's Tower as a tri-land, Plaza of Heroes to help with our legends, can also activate it to protect some of our key legendaries, so that can maybe help protect Aclazotz if it gets targeted by a removal spell that would exile it, if we manage to pull off the combo. And then we've got the channel lands, which also get a nice discount from controlling legendary creatures. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw with a keepable hand. Siren into Bat, turn 3 Invasion, which we can hopefully transform over the course of 2 turns. Let's see what we're up against. Blue-black. Alright, now Schooner is also an option, although I don't mind taking a look with the Bat to see what we're up against. The upside of Schooner is that we can then play turn 3 Invasion, and then turn 4 play Bat, crew Schooner, potentially hit the Invasion for 4, but that's only if there's no interaction whatsoever. Is their opponent keeping up 2 mana? Yeah, I guess if they've got a counter spell, would we rather have Bat countered or Schooner? They're both pretty nice to get in play. Opponent using the Whale, okay. In that case, Maybe get the Schooner in play, and then next turn we can crew it with Siren and Bat. And then I don't necessarily want to draw another Siren. And then we'll just wait another turn on Invasion. Pilfer's gonna have a look. So they can take away both creatures, but they might still go for Bat. And then if we want to have a mana efficient turn of just Invasion, we don't get to crew Schooner, which is a bit of a drawback. But I could still go Siren and then just sacrifice a few map tokens, which is reasonable, or just go for Invasion, and then next turn we can potentially attack with a 4-powered Schooner. And this is still a 2-for-1, so sure. Alright, we milled our God, so that's exciting. Opponent, in the meantime, looks like a control deck. Tidebinder could be relevant interaction. And Prodigy also discarded. Shieldred makes sense. So that can get in the way of our Schooner. So now could still play Siren, and then if there's a non-land on top, we could make a 5-powered Schooner to essentially trade for Shieldred. Then I can still play another Siren anyways. Let's see how that plays out. I guess I do want to play Underground River here. Save myself 1 damage. Okay, a Larcenist, also an answer to Shieldred, so that kind of incentivizes them to trade anyways. But I do want to keep this on top to make sure I have a 5-power attacker. And then now I can put it in the graveyard if I want to. Attack. And a cut down we don't need. Opponent trades? Nope. It's a difficult choice. Alright, trade happens. And then we can play another Siren. And then next turn, potentially transform Invasion. Once we transform Invasion and select our God, we'll still have to watch out for another Whale. Alright, opponent having a backup Shieldred makes that decision pretty easy. But let's see if we have another non-land on top, and then I'll diversify. Okay, go for the Throat, also an answer to Shieldred, so I'll keep it, although if I play Invasion of Amonket, then I would mill those cards first. I think we still keep it on top, and then I can decide not to play my Invasion. So yeah, let's go for the Deepest Betrayal. And then we'll pass it back. Going for Plaza also reasonable, just to protect this from an exile effect. But there's not too many in blue-black. Virtue taking out a Siren. And yeah, go for the Throats, as they'll find out. It's not very effective. As we get to just select our Deepest Betrayal once again. Does enter tapped, admittedly, but that's fine. Okay. And then now go for the Throat, answer Shieldred. Play another Invasion, which can now select Shieldred. I imagine that's our best option here. Okay. Maybe discard River to the Connive, so I'll play Plaza. And that's enough for a concession, I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, and we're a little bit light on land, but Siren can always explore with a map token, so I'll give it a shot. Facing a red aggro, it seems. Yeah, let's go with a tapped tower. Turn to Denik seems pretty important if we're facing an aggressive deck. And then we can always play Siren and explore later, potentially even exploring with Danik, so we make it survive a 3 damage lightning strike. For now we'll be taking 2 from the Scoundrel with the Wicked roll. Did find a land. Still go for Otawara here so we don't take damage. And then Larcenist could be a solid follow-up. And Godric gets in for 3. Seems like a good target for Larcenist. And we'll hit for 2. So now we've got 4 power to try and transform Invasion of Amonket, although playing Shieldred might still be better. Opponent had the Lightning Strike, but now forced to take out Larcenist, get Godric back. And hit for 5. So now they're less likely to answer Shieldred. Make sure we gain our 2 life. Ooh, Twisted Fealty, that's scary. So now we're taking 10. But we get to gain 2, and Rafine can gain us more life back. Okay, so I imagine play Rafine, and then opponent's at 14. Is there anything in the graveyard? Larcenist. So we could also go for an invasion, attack it with Shieldred to transform, get Larcenist back, get rid of Godric, and then we still get to play Siren as a chump blocker. Don't hate that idea. And we also gain more life from the card draw. So I will gain 2 more here with Danik. And copy Larcenist. Don't think we need to make anything a treasure. On our side, we could roll triggers and play Spyglass Siren. Could still activate the map token, which seems worthwhile. Alright, so hopefully we get to survive another turn, and then playing our Betrayal could be great, or just going for Rafine and conniving onto our lifelinker. And that's enough for a concession, I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Our hand's not perfect, could use a few more lands, but it's functional. Can cast all our 2-drops, got interaction aplenty. Facing blue-white soldiers. Okay, so Bat, probably our first play. Try and disrupt some of their impactful 3-drops. And then go for the throats, can play catch-up. Opponent likely flashing in the reinforcements here. So there's reinforcements, Harbin can be scary, and so is Officer. And with Officer they can immediately draw a card. So yeah, let's take that one. Even though taking reinforcements means their opponent cannot draw with Officer right away next turn if they play it. So maybe it is actually reinforcements here. So their turn goes to waste. And then if they keep Officer in hand, I can take it with another bat. If they play it, we can go for the throat. Okay, so that worked out. Larcenist also an answer. How much do we care about giving them an extra land? Now that we drew tower, I think it's more incentive to go for the throat. So I can play Shieldred next turn. But we also have the option of Bat plus go for the throat before they empty their whole hand. Opponent has another Officer. So now Bat plus go for the throat's looking good. Take Harbin, take out Officer. They will still have the Recruitment Officer's ability to refuel, but hopefully we can outrace them in the meantime. And I guess our opponent also gets to draw here. So we're going to start with Go for the Throats in case they draw into something more important than Harbin. And Protect the Negotiators is good to know about. So that can counter Shieldreds. We still have Larcenist for Harbin, so yeah, I think we actually take the counterspell. It's also synergistic with Officers, since they can keep up mana. If they don't need to counter, they just activate. But good to know that they're running a counterspell. Tokasia's Welcome can help them out in a grindy matchup, although Shieldred can punish the card draw. So I think it's time. Cut Down can answer Brutal Cathar. So we've got most bases covered. So we can kick things off with Larcenist to get rid of Harbin so the bats can keep attacking. Another bat's interesting too. I think I still prefer Larcenist. There's a good chance we'll catch them with a card in hand with the bats because of the Tokasia's Welcome. So the bat's still gonna come in handy later. And we can attack with probably everyone. Cut Down can always interfere if they have some more blockers at instant speed. Alright, Fading Hope to bounce Larcenist, so they'll get Harbin back, but we can cut it down so it doesn't ambush our bat. I suppose I could have waited to see if they wanted to double block Shieldreds. And then I could have punished them. But if they ended up blocking a bat, we lose out on 1 damage. Opponent's down to 4. And yeah, the Tokasia's Welcome now turns into more of a drawback. Might want to just keep a Plaza to protect Shieldreds. Or we can have a look to see if there's no instant speed interaction we have to worry about. So a few ways we can play this. Alright, Reinforcement, so that can jump or even trade for Shieldred. Although now the Flyers can potentially finish them off. So that should do it. Sweet. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a fine hand. Got early Cut Down, turn 2 Bat, and turn 3 Raffine, so we're not going to miss a beat here. Let's see what we're working with. Put on blue-white. Make that Esper, and they're on a pretty similar deck. So they can play turn 2 Schooner, which we don't have a great answer to. Could also leave them with Go for the Throat, take Schooner, then our opponent's gonna Go for the Throat, Bat, I can play another one and then take Schooner. Or they could also just go double Veteran. Don't really care about the Veterans too much. Yeah, I think Schooner's kind of an issue. Opponent does go for double Veteran after all. I think I still prefer Bat over Raffine, even though we get to potentially grow the Bat. Yeah, let's just have another look here and then keep up Cut Down. Yeah, let's take the removal. And then we should be able to outrace Shieldred with our Flyers. And we cut down Veteran. Don't really want to give them a Phantom, so would rather take out a Knight. Okay, opponent's got their own Rafine, which we can cut down, but we'll need an extra mana, so it's not going to happen next turn. So that was a good draw. Blocks our bats pretty well. So, yeah, I think I should still take out Rafine as opposed to taking out a Veteran here. But my next turn's not going to be very efficient, unless we find something cheap. Opponent got rid of Shieldred, maybe they found a backup or they wanted removal instead. Alright, Danik was a good draw, so now we can cut down Rafine, pay the ward, and still play Danik. Let me just play Danik first so the auto-tapper can mess us up. And then next turn, it might be time for Rafine. If they do have another Shieldred, then they can punish the Connive. Turns out they have a bat instead. So that probably takes Rafine, I imagine. Okay, so now the game's gonna stall out a bit, and the Virtue of Loyalty is gonna be a major factor. Never mind, Go for the Throat answers bat to give us Rafine back. Don't have to necessarily cast it now. Would just allow me to attack with our flyers. Think Invasion first makes sense, and there's a chance we draw into another black source. So I'll leave my blue-black land untapped. Opponent doesn't have anything in hand, but that's okay. Still get to draw a card here. Okay, and then now we can still Go for the Throat and attack. And we'll hit the battle. What did we mill? Nothing too exciting, but can always select the opponent's Shieldred. And that's going to be enough for a concession, I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. With double Siren, we can hopefully keep hitting our land drops. And then we've got a few flyers to pressure the Invasion of Amonket. Let's see what we're up against. Black-white. Alright, now I'm not hating bat to see what we're working with. Maybe take away removal. Okay, opponents got their own bats. Multiple removal spells. Although currently they won't be able to play a 2-drop. Since their lands enter tapped. Don't really care about Dread Knight, Preacher should be beatable. So yeah, I think we take the Go for the Throat, and then if they get lost, at least we'll get the map tokens in return. Okay, we've got our third land. So, I think I prefer just playing 2 more creatures here over playing the Invasion of Amonket and hitting it for 2, since otherwise we're unlikely to transform it next turn, since our opponent can keep up removal at instant speed potentially. Although I guess there's also the argument that they can play their own bat to take away Invasion, although they're likely taking Shieldred if we're being honest. So, yeah, let's hit for 2, play Danik and Siren. And then we'll see what happens. Could also go exploring to try and grow our flyers, to try and transform the Invasion if our opponent goes for Preacher. Now Rafine seems like the better pick. And I think we attack all out, grow Danik to probably get up to 4 power to trade for Preacher at the very least. And then if they spend their turn taking out Rafine, they're not developing their board. Okay, so Deepest Betrayal in the graveyard can synergize with Invasion of Amonket. And then probably don't need Bat anymore. And let's see, if we keep the lands, we can hit our land drop for the turn. But we only need the land drop if we're going for Shieldreds. And doesn't line up great against a known bat and get lost. So probably get rid of the lands, and then, yeah, maybe get rid of Shieldred. And then we've got 2 relevant plays we can make that we can cast for 3 or less mana. Or we can just get rid of Schooner, keep Shieldred and Invasion, and then if they play bad, they might take Shieldred anyway. Although I guess we could always copy Shieldred with the Invasion, so they're unlikely to make that play. Yeah, close call. I'll keep the Shieldred over Schooner. Can always activate our map tokens. And then I imagine we see a trade. Argument to keep a land over Shieldred is that we could disturb Danik at the very least with 4 mana. Right, so our opponent can play bad and get lost. And we'll see if they go for Shieldred or think about it and maybe go for Invasion. Goes for Shieldred, as expected. So they cannot take out Rafine with the Get Lost, but they can take out a Bat. They could have also waited to see where we put the counters from Rafine, but now we should be able to at least force them to jump with the Bat if they want to prevent a transformation. So we want to discard 2 non-lands at least, so we can still transform Invasion if they just trade 1-1 for 1-1, and then a land can go. Keep Larcenist. So probably see them just chump the 3-3. Nope, opponent just lets it go. So now this can turn into our God instead of the opponent's Shieldred. Since the removal so far seems all destroy based, so if they cannot exile this, they won't be able to get rid of it. So hopefully that's the case. And yeah, go for the throat. Opponent did not read the fine print. Just transforms once again. It is tapped admittedly, but I'll take it. Opponent agrees that it's a sweet play and explodes. GG's, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Our hand is lacking a few lands, but with Malcolm we can hopefully draw into more. So I'll give it a shot. And then Malcolm into Rafine is a great curve. If we miss our 3rd land, hopefully draw into one with Malcolm and still play 2nd main Invasion. Well, let's see what we're up against. Turn 1 plains. So white aggro perhaps. And veteran. So don't expect too many blockers or removal spells for Malcolm. And then we can now play Rafine on curve. Okay, so Vendor is fine. And then we want to play Rafine, discard a non-land card so we can transform Invasion next turn. And yeah, discarding our God means we can potentially get access to it next turn. Don't need a 2nd Shieldred, also just good to have as an option in the graveyard. So should be able to play Invasion and transform it next turn, unless a Brutal Cathar gets rid of Malcolm. Just Veteran plus Skrelv. Okay, so get to untap, play Invasion of Amonket, and then I probably want to keep my blue-black land untapped in case we draw Cut Down or our blue 1-drop. And I guess with Plaza we can keep it both. Right, and then attack. Don't need to discard any non-land cards necessarily. Cut Down doesn't do anything as long as they have Skrelv available, since we can't take out Skrelv and Skrelv protects the rest. So might have to cut down Skrelv here and then still have Go for the Throat next turn. And yeah, what else to discard? I guess Shieldred, and then next turn we can just make a Shieldred through the Invasion. and still cast a removal spell. And then for now, get our god. Now opponent does have Brutal Cathars, so that's a way to get rid of the god, even through the loop with Invasion. But I'm kinda still digging it. It's just a large flyer. And cut down Skrelv. Okay, so things are going about as well as they could. And that's enough for a concession. Opponent also struggling to hit their land drops a little bit. Sweet. So yeah, the Invasion of Amonket's game plan, paired with lots of flying creatures, seems to be working out quite nicely. Since you definitely need those flyers to consistently transform a battle, so this seems like a natural fit. And then the Deepest Betrayal, as we saw, led to a couple misplays from our opponent, which weren't too familiar with that interaction, but I can't blame them since it's not a very typical one. But yeah, overall, quite happy with how the deck turned out. There's definitely a lot of fine-tuning that can be done with the list, since you've got access to so many different options in the Esper colors, whether you play more or fewer legendaries, which removal spells you play, how many flying creatures you want to pair with the Invasion. But this setup seemed to work quite well, so can certainly recommend it. So that's going to do it for my final gameplay here on the official MTG Arena channel, at least for the foreseeable future. But want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.